How many of you guys would consider yourselves goal-oriented? Not just saying it as an adjective, but really thrive on having a goal and meeting that goal. I am definitely a goal-oriented person. I love having a long-term goal and working towards it, knowing that each of my movements was going to eventually help me reach that goal. But did you know, in a survey, only 6% of people end up being in their childhood dream career? I fall into that 94% of people that didn't. My childhood dream was to become a world-renowned pianist. And at the age of 4, you'd be kind of confused, not knowing how serious you can go, and how would you know at 4 years old? Well, I know how I knew. My mom told me that was going to be my goal. My mom was a piano teacher, and she, looking back, I'm realizing, really wanted to become a world-renowned pianist. And she saw me as an opportunity to fulfill her lifelong dream. And obviously it was with well intentions, and I'm so thankful for all of the sacrifices that she was offering so that I can become really good at piano. But nevertheless, from 4 to 18 years old, I'm realizing that it was not my goal. It was something that was imposed on me. And that's kind of what I want to share with you guys today. I believe that life is really not about having that perfectly crystallized plan that you're going to work towards. Rather, you should have the flexibility of being adaptable so that you can pivot whenever you need to, depending on where you are in your life stages. So let me share with you guys 3 crucial parts of my life where I had to pivot, and I increased my ability to be okay with uncertainty. So like I said, my childhood was pretty much made up of anything that was related to piano. So if you guys were to think about your childhood, you probably can come up with easily several games that you played with your friends, or favorite activities that you had, whether it be sports or music or anything else that brought you joy. Mine, it primarily consisted of 2 activities. One, it was practicing the piano. 2, performing the piano. Anything else that was outside of these 2 buckets was deemed extracurricular and essentially a waste of time. So you can imagine practicing the piano really became my life. And I found comfort in that because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that when I went to college, I wanted to go to the Juilliard School so that I could major in piano, and that would help me become a world-renowned pianist. Looking back, I'm realizing that I didn't have any ownership on creating my own goals, and that in turn didn't allow me to be okay in the discomfort of being in uncertainty. So if I had to assess it at that time, I was about 0% comfortable being in uncertainty during my childhood. What I did learn is that I was super laser focused. You can imagine if you had 3 to 4 hours of practicing the piano every day, you can get very good at focusing on a specific task. The other thing I learned was I was able to do repetitive tasks day in, day out without going crazy. You can imagine playing the same piece over and over again, trying to perfect that note, trying to bring in the tonation, and to make everything work together while you do it in one shot. And the other thing that I learned was being able to have that drive because you knew that you had that goal. So I take all of this to say that I did learn a lot during my childhood. But again, the con of it was that I was not comfortable with uncertainty. So I went to UCLA, not Juilliard, as a music major, and I realized at that time very quickly that I didn't want to continue with music. I thought that at least getting a degree in music was one way that I can play pay respect to my mom, who sacrificed 14 years of a lot of money, a lot of time, so that I can get a music degree. But towards the end, when I was a senior, I realized that I couldn't be a musician for two reasons. Number one was I wanted to be able to support my parents financially because they went through a hard time when I was younger, and I definitely wanted to support them. And number two, I really wanted to help others, and I didn't see how I could as a musician. You can argue that as a musician you can make people's lives better, you're bringing joy to people, but I wanted to do something that was a lot more tangible. And so, and as a senior in college, and as an immigrant, I'm realizing now that I actually was at a little bit of a disadvantage because I wasn't really aware of the potential job opportunities or careers that I had. I had a very limited amount of knowledge of what I thought I can do, and they were basically into three buckets: healthcare, law, and business. And business I excluded right away because to me, what I was taught was business basically could be that you can own liquor stores or you can own dry cleaners, and there was not much outside of that. And I eventually ended up in healthcare because it just felt like it was something that I would enjoy doing. It would be helping a lot of people, and you can make a comfortable salary. So after a lot of debate and a lot of prayer, I landed on optometry. And at this point, I'm realizing that the uncertainty that I faced was very uncomfortable because I was at about 0% uncertainty coming into college. Towards the end, when I made that decision, I was at about maybe 10%. I just really did not feel comfortable not knowing what was going to be my next steps. And there was a lot of anxiety that I felt during that summer when I was really grappling with how to figure out what my goals were. I went to optometry school, graduated, and I knew that I wanted to do something with business because I really just always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So I graduated from optometry school and I decided to open a practice. And I do want to share a little bit more of a personal story with you. Right before I opened my practice, I was forced to become about 75% okay with uncertainty. Now let me share with you guys what happened. So right before I opened my first practice, I was pregnant with my first daughter, Kala, and I had serious complications. Later on, I realized that I was diagnosed with something called sepsis with DIC, which was a very serious condition, and I had almost died. And going through that experience where you're not certain if you're going to be given another day to live, it really makes you 100% exposed to uncertainty, because what can be more uncertain than having uncertainty about if you're going to be able to live to see another day? So after that experience, I've been very thankful for every day that I get to live. I've increased my dependence on God and just have been so thankful for every day that I've been given. But on top of that, I've been very comfortable with uncertainty after that. And coupling that with the uncertainty of starting a practice cold, that really made me become about 75% okay with uncertainty. And just not to glaze over the startup part as well of the business side, because that in itself had a lot of trials and tribulations and discomfort. But overall, just coming out of that stage in my life, I've learned a lot about how to start a business. I learned about the importance of life, and I learned, most importantly, not to take each day for granted. So on to the last part of my journey, the GSB. So I started the GSB in January 2021, which was earlier this year, and I'm going to be graduating in about a month in December 2021. And there's a lot that I've learned here. Coming in, I was at about, like I said, 75% okay with uncertainty. And what I was hoping to get out of this experience was to become more like 100% okay with uncertainty. And I think I'm getting there. So what have I been doing this past year at the GSB? Well, I've been doing a lot of self-reflecting. And this speech, this talk, is what came out of it. I'm realizing at each of those important pivotal parts of my life, there is a lot of life lessons that I've learned, a lot of skill sets that I developed, and a lot of relationships that I built with different people in my life. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% okay with uncertainty. If I were to give you guys a visual, if you see this uncertainty cloud right in front of you, I used to want to get through it with a windblower. And I would try to dispel it as quickly as possible. So I would just always be thinking about like all the things that I could do to get rid of this uncertainty, because it made me very anxious and very stressed, not knowing what was going to be next and not having a goal that I can work towards. But now, if you can imagine this, instead of going at it with a windblower, I walk around the fog and I kind of look around to see if there's any angles, different angles that I can approach it, or if there's any openings or hints that can help me try to get rid of this uncertainty cloud. And I think that helps me because it makes me okay to be in that discomfort. It reduces my anxiety level, and it also lets me excited about the future, knowing that I can pivot at any time. And so now that I'm about to graduate, my goal, loosely speaking, it's not a clearly defined, crystallized goal by any means, but I do know that I want to start building up practices, and I'm going to primarily focus in the medical spa space and optometry for now. And so what I want you guys to take away from this are some of the tips that I've learned through my journey. Number one, it's okay not to have a crystallized and fully fleshed out plan or goal. It's really okay. You have to imagine that there's going to be a lot of times that you pivot. Your interests might change. Your strengths might get developed more on a certain part and you want to use that strength. You might realize that you have some weaknesses, and because of that weakness, you wouldn't have that ability to reach this certain goal. But now that you can grow that weakness, it's now become a strength, and so now you can pivot and change your goals. So that's one. And the next one is, it's okay to change your goals and pivot. And the reason why I say this as a separate tip is because sometimes people feel really uncomfortable, or they feel like they're failing when they change their goals because they told people that, hey, this is what I want to do. And when they feel that it isn't something that they want to continue doing, then they feel embarrassed or a sense of shame that they didn't follow through or deliver what they thought they wanted to do. If this is the case, I would recommend hiding it. Keep it with yourself. Don't share it until you've accomplished it. That's worked really well for me. And the third is, just know that this really is not a destination, but rather a journey that you're going through and you should be enjoying. And the way that you can do it is, instead of thinking I have to create a 3, a 5, or a 10-year plan, think of it more in terms of a shorter sprint. So maybe it's a 6-month plan, or it's a year plan. But just give yourself the ability to create almost like an MVP. And, this is a business school, so I'm using words that resonate. An MVP of your goal, and just be able to have it, but know that you can come back to edit it or change it at any time. So what are my goals at this point? It's twofold. One is to be 100% okay with uncertainty. And 2 is to remind myself every day that life is really about the journey and not the destination. Thank you.